Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Mussar Masterclass, Mussar Mondays. It is so wonderful to be here with all y'all and to study today the gate of laziness. We're in the Orchos Tzaddikim, Ways of the Righteous, in the Treasure for Life edition on page 543, the 16th gate, laziness. What is laziness? We all have an idea of what laziness is. And now the author here, the Orchos Tzaddikim, is going to elaborate more on this awful trait, really terrible trait of laziness. Okay, so what is laziness? Laziness is an extremely bad trait. Whoever this trait overpowers them, the defectiveness, the deficiencies are not only in this world, but also in the world to come. And about such a person, King Solomon of blessed memory said, Al stay ish avarti, val kerem odom chasar lev, vihine ola hulo kimishonim kasu honov charulim v'cheder avonov neherosa. What does this verse say? I passed by the field of a lazy man and by the vineyard of a man lacking understanding. It was all filled with thorns. Its face was covered with sharp grass, and its stone wall was broken down. What does this mean? Dima chachmas atzel is de ish atzel. He compares a lazy person's wisdom to a lazy man's field. Lo dai she'eno megadol tvuo mipnei she'eno oved osa koroi. It's not enough that he does not yield produce properly, but he also does not work it. But also, it gives forth defective things. El megadol af dvarim gruim has defective things. Kigon charulim v'kimshonim, like sharp grass and thorns, which spoil the produce. So not only doesn't produce something good, it produces something bad, something harmful, because he didn't properly maximize his field, cultivate his field. Va'afilu im hoya toreach b'sodeu ad shigadel tevua machmas atzluso yafsid hatvua. And even if he labored in his field until it did yield produce, his laziness would cause him to lose it. For the stone wall is broken down, and since he is remiss and does not repair it, animals and thieves enter it and take everything. And it says, Geder avodov neherasu, its stone wall was broken down. Afalpi shegeder avonov chazka meod, and even though a stone wall is very strong, it fell because of his laziness. Afalpi chen inerso machmas atzluso, because of his laziness, the wall fell down. Shalotiken chesrona, when it had cracks, when it had flaws, it didn't fix it. Kodem shenafal kula, before it completely fell down. Cain in mitzvahs. He says the same exact thing. This parable that King Solomon writes about in Proverbs, this is exactly what happens to a person in their service of Hashem, in their Torah, in their mitzvahs. Someone who's lazy loves to relax and take it easy. When we talk kacha mitzvahs kashos, then what happens? As a result, the mitzvahs become more difficult upon them. Torah kveda al nafsham, and the study of Torah, it becomes a difficult, burdensome task. And they run away from the study hall to a place of rest. They're sitting in the synagogue. They're sleeping. The result of laziness is deep sleep. Because laziness introduces introduces sleep into the nature of a person. And King Solomon already warned us about this. Me'at shenas, me'at tunumos, me'at chibuk yadayim lishkov. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. What happens? If you start getting lazy, it becomes a lot of sleep. Becomes a lot of, he warns us. He says, no, don't sleep too much. You sleep, you're going to start liking it. You're going to start getting lazy. You're going to start taking it too easy. And then you will lose tremendous opportunities to accomplish great things. Lo dailo otzel shelo yagia lidias Torah. It's not enough that this lazy person will not attain great wisdom in Torah, kevan she'eino osek b'Torah karoi, since he doesn't study Torah properly. Ela afilo machmas ha'atzlus ma'ale belibo l'svoros shel ha'os. But because of his laziness, he conjures up illogical ideas, illogical concepts that are incongruent with that of Torah. So he starts bending things because he's lazy to think it through and to work it through, understand it properly. Otzel yore hetel la'atzmo v'yomar tov laguf hamenucha kedei sheyischazek ki k'she'adam chazak u'yochal lasos yoser min ha'chalash. What is he going to say? He's going to rationalize. He's going to say it is good that the body rests so that it will be strong. A strong man can do more than a weak man. And he keeps on giving this excuse more and more, excusing the laziness, that it is a good thing for him. And we know that it's not a good thing for him. It'll do terrible damage because he will not be able to understand, to accomplish, and to fulfill his days with goodness. He says, what happens and then what happens? He starts listening to idle chatter. He starts listening to nonsense. The excuses that come when someone doesn't want to learn, doesn't want to grow. He says, what do you mean? Because you think, I'll just tell you because it's current events. Current events is Purim. Purim is in less than 2 weeks, a week and a half is Purim. Next Thursday is the fast of Esther, and on Friday is the holiday of Purim. It's going to be difficult because it's right before Shabbos. So what happened with the people who argued with Mordechai? Mordechai said, don't go to the party of Haman. You know how they twisted it? The people who wanted to go party by the party of Haman, they said, well, you think Mordechai's the righteous? We're the righteous. You think we want to be here? We just want to, make peace with our government. We would just want to find a way for us to work together. So we're the righteous ones. They twisted it. People who have this laziness like to twist things, that the good person is bad, the bad person is good. Everything is upside down on its head. It could be that it is true that rest will help you get stronger, and laughter is healthy for the body. So, anybody who has the Reader's Digest in the past 50 years remembers there's a section there that laughter is the best medicine. So now the person who's lazy is going to say, why should I be serious in my work? Why should I be serious in my study of Torah and doing mitzvahs? Laughter is the best medicine. Even Reader's Digest said that. So then I should invest my life in laughter because it's a good thing, right? So what happens? They invest in that, and they takes away from all of the fulfillment of their life, because all they're doing is laughing and mocking and being filled with jest. So all of this that we said is with respect to a zealous person, someone who has alacrity, someone who runs to go do good things. Such a person occupies himself with Torah study as he should. For a man's power is not the power of stone, nor are his bones made of copper that he can labor constantly. Your air conditioner can work constantly. It can be on 24 hours a day. May not be good every once in a while, give it rest, but it can handle it. We cannot. We're not made out of copper. We can't. Yeah, we need to rest. But don't fall into the argument that by mistake you start saying and justifying, it's a good thing to sleep. You should sleep as much as you can. Just sleep. It's fine. No, right? Sleep, it has its merits, but don't allow sleep to take you over, because when you do so, it's going to completely consume you and remove you from the ability to accomplish. Aval ha'otzel miyasher zos hasvara v'nimshach achareh ad sheyispatel mikol v'chol. The lazy person is always looking for excuses to not get things done. V'la'olam b'chol hamitzvos sheyesh bahem torach yaseh svara lefi ha'atzlus v'yispatel min hamitzvah klolo shel davar ha'otzel yate kol sfaraso lefi ha'atzlus. He says there's a rule, a fundamental principle, and that is the lazy man will rationalize everything in accordance with his laziness. That's the result of laziness. Everything, I didn't come, but it's a good thing I didn't come. It's a good thing I didn't go to the meeting. It's a good thing because, we all know meetings are a waste of time anyway. And they justify everything that they don't do, that it was a good thing, or it was like, I thought this through in advance. No. You're lazy. You're lazy. And that's a very, very challenging thing for a person to live their lives, for an individual to live their life with laziness, because they don't get things done as they should, and they lose tremendous opportunities for success. So this concludes day number 92. Now we're going to continue with day number 93. So day number 93, we're on the top of page 548 in the Treasure for Life edition of the Orchos Tzaddikim, the ways of the righteous. We're in the middle of the chapter of laziness. Ha'otzel hu rach levov. Torah. Lazy person is soft-hearted and will not exile himself to a place of Torah. All of Omar Shlomo Melech. King Solomon says further about such a man. Shiva Dvorim. 7 things about a lazy man. 7 things that you need to know. What are they? Ketzad. Omrim la'otzel rab chaba'ir. Leich ulamad Torah. Tell the lazy person, your teacher came from far, really far. He came to town. He's in town. Why don't you go learn from him? What does he say? I don't know if I can make it because, there are lions that roam the streets. There are animals, wild animals. He starts coming up with all of these excuses. Omrim so what do they tell him? Rabcha b'socha Medina, amod v'leichetzlo, right? He's not inside the city. He's inside the province. He's inside the neighborhood. Go and greet him. Nemar Ari ben Arochovos. See, he says, I'm afraid that there are still lions in the streets because Ari ben Arochovos, there are lions in the streets, as it says over there in Proverbs. Omrim lo Arehu dor etzel beischo. He's in your very home. But the lion is right outside. I'm terrified. Shenemar Omar otzel Ari bachutz b'soch rechovos erotzeach. I'll be murdered. I'll be slaughtered by this lion. Omrim lo Arehu b'soch habayis. He's in your house. V'umeshiv lohem v'im holech aniu motze adelos neula ani tzorech lachazor. He says, but what happens if I find that the door is locked? Then I'm going to have to go find the rabbi. He comes up with excuses. I can tell you the excuses that people have told me why they can't come to class, why they can't come for a Shabbos dinner, why they can't come to an event. I've heard the most magnificent excuses. You know what it's called? It's called laziness. Laziness. People who give excuses, don't give excuses. Try, make an effort. There's a very high percentage that people can be in an accident. Just in Washington D.C., there was a plane that crashed in midair. See, I'm terrified. I'm not going to travel for a good cause because that can happen. Or I'm not going to drive someplace, or I'm not going to ride my bicycle. I'm not going to walk because there are accidents all the time, right? So these are all excuses that are nonsensical, but the lazy person buys into it and keeps on excusing his lack of action by giving excuses. Adayin lo yakum, he still doesn't get up. Shenemar adelis tisov al tzira ve'otzel amitosi. He says the door is swinging on its hinges, meaning the door is wide open. You can go and you can get it. You can accomplish. But you know what? He's still lying in bed. He's still lying in bed. Losov shelo hayu yodea malahoshiv amar lahem imadelos pesucha onuula mivakashni lishon od me'at. What does he say? He says, I don't care if the door's open, if the door's closed, if the rabbi's here, if the rabbi's there. Just give me a minute to sleep. I just want some rest. I just want to relax a little bit. And that's the big mistake, that someone who starts being lazy gets lazier. Someone who starts getting active gets more active. It's a cycle that follows itself. We manifest our will. And when we want to accomplish, we suddenly are able to accomplish. We set out a good vibe out there in the world that allows it to happen. I just want to sleep a little more, as the verse says. How long will you sleep, you lazy man? When will you rise from your sleep? Omed mishnaso nosnu lefonav lechol v'hu misatzel lasel siado letoch piv. When he gets out of bed, they give him something to eat, but he's too lazy to put his hand into his mouth to eat. As it is written, Toman otzel yado etzalochas nil el hashiva el piv. There's a verse as well in Proverbs. The lazy man buries his hand in the dish, but he is too weary to return it to his mouth. You already have it. The idea is that this is a metaphor, not for the food, but for life. How many times we have the opportunity, we have the ability. I'll give you an example. How many times in the history of mankind were people limited from studying Torah because they didn't have access to Torah? They didn't have access because they didn't have books. There wasn't a printing press like we have today. They didn't have access. So you know what we have in the 21st century? We have access. We have a lot of access. You go on artscroll.com, you can go, but you know what? You don't need to buy it. I can't afford it. I can't afford it. Don't buy it. You can get everything free online today. You can go, there are dozens of websites that offer, you can see Torah pages, the Daf Yomi, for example. There are hundreds and hundreds of websites where you can see the teachings of the Daf Yomi. You can watch the video on YouTube. You can watch the video on, the All Daf app. They have apps for it. So what's the excuse now? Nah, I can't. It's like, it used to be you had to travel to your rabbi. It used to be you had to learn it from a book. There was maybe one in a town. It used to be you had to buy the book. It used to be you had to log online and pay for it. Now we have none of those excuses. You don't have to pay. It's all free. We have over 5,000 titles of Torch videos online. You know that on YouTube? 5,000 titles. You have podcasts today. It's all free. So what's the excuse for people to be ignorant in their Judaism? There's no excuse. There's really no excuse. But we're living in a lazy world. Lazy world where King Solomon is saying his hand is on the food, but he's too lazy to put it into his mouth. What is that? We have our phones. We have our devices. You can have Torah scrolling on your phone all day. You can have classes listening with your earbuds while you jog. I love that one of our students always keeps on telling me, she says, Rabbi, do you know where we were today? Today, we were on the bayou walking and we went shopping together and we walked the dog together and we folded the laundry together. Me? What do you mean? I have no idea what you're talking about. I didn't do any of those things. No. I was listening to your class while I was doing those things. That's a maximizing of our time, maximizing of our life. Here, the author is telling us that it's so easy if someone is lazy, they have their hand with their food in their hand, they're just too lazy to put it into their mouth. We have the device, we can just click play, and we're just not putting it into, we're not consuming it. This is a real big challenge. And so these are 7 different layers that we've discussed. The lazy person will not plow in the winter. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, Amar Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Zeh shelo lama Torah bin ura v'rotze lilmod b'ziknusa ve'eno yachol v'zeh v'shoal b'kotzir v'oyin. He says this is referring to someone who didn't study in their youth and will not be able to study in their old age. They're not able to. Ad kan gina Shlomo Satzal. All of this is the reprimand of King Solomon of the lazy men. Moshe Rabbeinu Olav Shalom. Moses said the following: Omar davar gadol mikulam. He said something so incredible. Shneimar ki korev elecha davar meod b'ficha ubilvav chol ha'asoso. Our leader Moses, what did he tell us? For this thing, referring to the Torah, extremely close to you, in your mouth and in your heart to accomplish it. Just let it out of your mouth. Rak hotze davar mitoch picha. Just let it out. Umi shemisatzel b'zeh shelo yotzi dvarim mifiv, ein lecha atzlos gdola mizu. He's not even ready to speak it out. Just talk it out. There's no laziness that is greater than this, than that of failing to emit the words from one's mouth. Just speak them out. It's such an incredible responsibility that we have, particularly in our generation. Our generation where we have so much, and yet we're the most medicated generation in the history of the world. We have so much. Children today have the most incredible wealth, the most incredible opportunity. You can get a master, you can get a doctorate from YouTube. It's free. You have classes on anything you could possibly imagine. My wife was telling me, that one of the ice maker in the refrigerator wasn't working. How am I supposed to know how to do that? Well, I searched up on YouTube. I used the first principle of the ways of the 48 ways, which is B'Talmud, to study, learn something new every day. I go onto YouTube. I put in the model number of this unit, this refrigerator, and boom, you have 55,000 videos about how to fix all the different ice makers in every type of refrigerator system. It's like you become a scientist when you're done with this thing. It's unbelievable. You learn one after another, and then this thing can be replaced, and that can be replaced, and you try this and try that, and this error message and that error message. It's unbelievable, the wisdom that's free, it's available, it's right there for each and every one of us. It's there, it's right by our fingertips, literally by our fingertips, like King Solomon tells us. But are we willing to just take it from our fingertips and actualize it? And Moses, our great leader, he says, so anything you want to accomplish, you need 2 components: mouth, heart. Okay? Desire and action. Just do it. You know how to become a great scholar? You think it's to go to a great seminary, to go to a great yeshiva. That's how I'm going to become a Torah scholar. No. And how you become a great Torah scholar? Just sit and learn. Just sit and learn, you become a great scholar. That's how you become a great scholar. YouTube can help. But that's it. You just sit down and learn. Open up a book, take a chumash, take any book, open it up, and just start learning. That's it. It's nothing more complicated. I remember in yeshiva they used to say this. Guys had this desire to be the greatest scholar in the world, to be the greatest, the leader of the Jewish people. Every child grows up with some dreams. Some kids in the United States grew up back in my days. They woke up every morning dreaming that they're going to be the next Michael Jordan. The problem is the nice Jewish boy is only 5'4". That's not going to help, right? But everybody has a dream. I remember when I was in yeshiva in Israel, I was young boys, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds. I want to be a great Torah scholar. You know what the rabbi used to say? You know how you become a great Torah scholar? You think it's lineage? No. You think it is getting blessings from rabbis? No. You think it's going and getting these amulets and these great Kabbalistic? No, none of that is going to help. Sit and learn. I remember this. My grandfather would field questions all the time. People would come to the house and ask questions. I remember as clear as day that people would knock when I was there for lunch with my grandfather many, many times. People would knock on the door, and I would go open the door. Yes, so I can help you. Okay, is the rabbi available? What do you need? He said, well, my son is here. His bar mitzvah today. I want him to get a blessing. So I had to go to my grandfather into the kitchen while he's eating. Someone's here for a blessing. Their son has a bar mitzvah tonight. My grandfather would come to the door. He'd get up. It was a whole process. It was an elderly man already. And he would come to the door and he would look at them and give them a beautiful smile and say, yeah, mazel tov. How can I help you? They're like, this young boy, he's turning 13 tonight. It's his bar mitzvah. He wants a blessing. So my grandfather would turn to the boy and say, what would you like a blessing for? He says, to be a real great scholar. You want to be a great scholar? Sit and learn. Sit and learn. You want a blessing for that? There's no blessing for that. Blessing's not going to help. You got to do action. Action, action, action. You have to commit yourself to action. Open up the book and start learning. That's how you become a scholar. And I'm telling you, when you start learning and it's fresh to you, so it's like it's all green and you don't know what you're doing yet and you don't understand everything yet, but suddenly, it could be a week or two or a month or two or a year or two. Suddenly you have an epiphany. 1 second. I learned that there, and I learned that there, and I learned that there. You start connecting all the pieces, and suddenly it becomes from a one-dimensional to two-dimensional to three-dimensional to four-dimensional. Suddenly you're living in this world of Torah because you've continued to amass more and more and more knowledge. I remember when I went to the former Soviet Union, and I was on a mission to learn to speak Russian. I remember when the plane landed in Borispol Airport in Kiev. The first time I was there, I remember I turned to myself, I turned aside and I said, okay, I speak 3 languages now. I speak Hebrew, English, and Yiddish. I'm erasing them from my memory for the next month. For the next month, I'm not speaking any English, Hebrew, or Yiddish. I'm just going to speak Russian. Problem is, I don't know any words in Russian. So here's what I did. I went over to the guy sitting next to me. I said, how do you say, what is this? What is this? So he told me how to say it. Что это? Right? What is this? So I would go over to the kids and I would say, Что это? And they would tell me what it is and I would write it down. And I would say, Что это? I know, it's like each thing, and you're like, what is this? What is this? What is this? And I started collecting like 1,500 words, 2,000 words. And then I used the languages that I knew, like Yiddish, mostly matching Yiddish and a little bit of Hebrew. You have a lot less consonants in those languages. And I was able to put together sentences and I was able to put together with proper grammar because it fits better than you would with English. Trying to go to Russian from English is more difficult than going to Russian from Hebrew, Yiddish, or Hebrew or Yiddish. Either way, but you have to put together a whole pile of words, and now you can start making sense of them. The problem is if you just take 10 words, okay, so you see, I don't speak Russian, I'm out, goodbye. Never going to work. You have to fill in that tank as much as possible. When we're trying to accomplish in our study of Torah, learn more and more and more and more, and it will suddenly become from one dimension to two dimension, 3 dimension to 4 dimension, and suddenly it's a really rich tapestry, and we're suddenly living in a world of Torah. Ad kan gina shlomo. Okay, so this is what King Solomon said, and this is what Moses teaches us. Re'eh echa otzel rachem mikol amidas hatovos ve'einu shava l'klum l'shlichus kechola she'eino shava l'shnayim. See how far the lazy man is from all the good traits and how completely unfit he is for any mission, just as vinegar is unfit for teeth. As it is written, as vinegar to the teeth and smoke to the eyes. Kain ha'otzel l'sholchav. So is a lazy person to those who send him. A lazy person never gets things done. And Tavas Otzel, the verse also states, Tavas Otzel timisenu ki me'anu yodov lasos. The desire of the lazy man will kill him, and his hands refuse to do. V'nemar, as well, it says, Chacham Otzel be'enov mishiva mishive tam. The lazy man is wiser in his eyes than 7 who answer sensibly. Perusho shel zeh pasuk kachu. You want to understand how to understand this verse in Proverbs? Melech sheyesh lo rotzim ushluchim harbe. A king has many couriers and emissaries who all perform missions for the king and also submitted a report to him upon returning from their missions. It's almost like the federal government, right? They report the 5 things they accomplished last week. V'asu kulam shlichuso shel melech. They fulfilled their tasks. V'gam eshivu dvar hamelech. They report on exactly what they accomplished. And one of the king's servants was a lazy man. Umarim lomar cholani, and he always says, I'm ill, I'm sick. V'noch ve'ochel mishulchan hamelech, and he rests and he eats from the king's table. When he sees that his friends are coming back all tired from running and carrying out the king's decrees, so he makes believe that he's wiser than all of them. But this is foolishness, for it is written, Dichsiv, have you seen a man quick in his work? He shall stand before kings. Here, too, the king will reward those wise ones who did his bidding and will pay no attention to the lazy one. In summary, the lazy man is fit neither for this world nor for the next world. Yodov lasos tov. Why? Because the wise one refuses to do good. The wise one refuses to do good. And the truth is that this is the tragedy of laziness. A lazy person just doesn't get things done. And a person can train themselves to be unlazy. And a person can train themselves to be lazy. A person who's always relaxing and always this, he doesn't want to get it done. I'll get it done tomorrow. I'll get it done next week. I'll be pushing it off, procrastinating. It's laziness. Someone who trains themselves. Now, work. Let's go. Get up. Jump out of bed. Got a date day ahead. Run to shul. Run back. Do this. Do that. This is really important for a person to really invest time and focus in unlazying ourselves and being proactive in getting work done. So this concludes day number 93. And now, my dear friends, we resume day 94 in the middle of page 553 in the Orchos Tzaddikim, Ways of the Righteous. So Benny Tripp, that's where we're in the middle of Orchos Tzaddikim, page 553, in the Ways of the Righteous, Orchos Tzaddikim, in the Treasure for Life edition. V'omer HaChacham, the wise man. Who's the wise man? King Solomon. King Solomon said, Ha'otzah shebibnei Adam, shenis'atze liknos ohavim chachamim v'yirei Hashem yizborach, v'yesh yoser otzel mimeno shekol elu hoyu biyado v'ibdam. The wise man said, the laziest of men is he who is lax in acquiring as close friends men who are wise and who fear Hashem. And there is one even lazier than this, one who has had such friends and lost them. Right? You had the opportunity in your hands. HaKadosh Baruch Hu bara brio chalosha ha'ogeres lachma v'torachas al ma'achola kidei lahachkim ha'otzel. Dichsiv leichel nemola otzel re'edu archea v'chacham. Hashem created a frail creature that stores up its food and exerts itself for its food in order to make the lazy man wise. You know what that animal is? The little ant. The little ant. What does the frail ant do? King Solomon says, go to the ant, you lazy one. Go look at the ant, see her ways, and grow wise. Why? You know that an ant in its lifetime gathers over 1,000 kernels of food. 1,000 kernels of food. Do you know how many kernels it needs to live its entire lifetime? Not even one. Not even one. It doesn't even eat one kernel in its entire life. Yet it collects over 1,000 kernels. Why? Because an ant can't help himself. You ever see an ant sitting back on a beach chair with his sunglasses, reading the New York Times? I don't think so. You don't see an ant doing that. Why not? Because the nature of the ant, it's called a nemala, comes from the word amel, which is toiling. It's constantly toiling. That's its nature. It's constantly toiling. King Solomon tells us, you're struggling with toiling, with working, with being busy constantly. You're always lazy. I don't know, man. There's a lion in the street. There's so many accidents. There's planes falling out of the sky. I don't know, right? Go stand by an ant. Go look how busy it is. It doesn't stop for a second. Doesn't stop for a second. Collects 1,000 kernels in its lifetime. It doesn't even need one. Because it needs to be busy. Look at this little frail ant. You're not embarrassed? Look at this ant. Zrizo mehiru binyanov. He has alacrity. He's eager. He's running to his next. I found another kernel. I'm going to take this kernel that's 14 times my size, and I'm going to schlep it back to there. He's not even going to eat it ever, but he's got to be busy. He's got to be busy. V'yilmad, and you learn. Mimeno lechos b'midas hazerizus v'lotzes mitachas yada atzlos. You will learn to live with alacrity, to live with an eagerness, with an inspiration. Go do it. Get it done. You will save your soul from the abyss. There is a laziness which is good, like we've mentioned many, many times. In all of the traits that we've discussed, there has to be a balance. There has to be a balance. We can't be extremists here. We can't be extremists here. Even in kindness, we said, there's a negative kindness. Kindness is always good. No, it's not always good. When you give away your own lunch or your children's dinner, that's not kind. That's cruelty. You have to take care of your own self, your own family, your own city first, before you start taking care of other countries or other people. So too with laziness, there is a form of laziness which is beneficial. One who is lazy to do evil, or to pursue his desires. Amru al Adam, they said about a man. The king sent him to on a dangerous mission, and he refused to go. And the king cursed him. And he said, "Az Omar lamelech," he said to the king, "Mutov shetichorfeini v'anichai mishetispalel be'adi v'animes." He says, "It's better for you to curse me and I be alive than for you to pray for me and I be dead." And our sages said just about this matter. Yesh zoriv v'niskar v'yesh zoriv v'nifsad. There is an eager and an alacritous man who is rewarded, and there is also an eager man, someone who has tremendous alacrity, who loses. Yesh otzel sheniskar v'yesh otzel shenifsad. There is a lazy man who is rewarded, and there's a lazy man who loses. Zoriz v'nifsad ve'ose malacha kol hashavua ve'ose gam kein be'erev Shabbos. Someone who is eager and is rewarded, one who works the whole week, but he doesn't work on Erev Shabbos to prepare for Shabbos. Such a person will miss out. He worked the whole week, right? He'll lose out. Otzel v'niskar, someone who is lazy and is rewarded. She'eino ose malacha kol hashavua ve'eino ose be'erev Shabbos. An eager man who loses, one who works the whole week, and also, an eager man who loses is one who works the whole week and also works on the eve of Shabbos. The lazy man who is rewarded is one who does not work the whole week and also does not work on the eve of Shabbos, which I think he's referring to working on Shabbos. He refrains from working on Shabbos. And a lazy man who loses is one who does not work the whole week and works on the eve of Shabbos. And then there's obviously someone who's lazy and is rewarded. That's someone who works the whole week. That was the first one, and does not work on Shabbos. There's, you know what? Someone could say, Shabbos. Yeah, Shabbos is a great recommendation by God. It's a recommendation. But, God also tells us to work hard. I'm going to work 7 days. No. There has to be a balance to this. There has to be a balance. 6 days, 6 days a week, not 5-day work week. 6 days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, work. Shabbos, that's a day for you to be lazy as sit back and eat and enjoy and pray and sing and dance. No work, no labor, no toil. That's what you're supposed to do. Someone who says, I'm going to work all 7 days, that's a form of alacrity that's not good. See how the sages postulated that there is a positive and a negative eagerness. And so with laziness, there's a good laziness and there's a bad laziness. Therefore, you have to be cautious and be deliberate that you do good things with all of your limbs and with all of your actions, and select in each of your limbs some lightness and some heaviness. Mikol aver ve'aver k'tzas kalus v'k'tzas kfedus ve'akol l'shem shamayim. It's like they say with when you work out in the gym, to have some cardio days. You should have some days which are leg days and some days that are, weight days. You got to have a variety. You can't do all of them every day. What are you going to do? You're going to hurt yourself. So he's saying over here, you need to have a balance. He says you should find a way and a lightness, an eagerness to sit with friends who gather together for Torah, for mitzvahs, for good deeds, people who are good. And don't be eager. Be lazy about sitting with people who are not good, who are not a good influence. Be light in your eyes to see justice, judgment, and opportunities for mitzvahs, and heavy to see vain deeds and to gaze at idols and at women, meaning desires and urges. A person shouldn't be eager and excited. Here's my theory and my philosophy on this. My theory and philosophy on this matter is that we all have things that we're very excited about, and we all have things that we would prefer a root canal than doing them, whatever that thing is. Doing the paperwork, filing our taxes. We all have the things that we love doing, we have the things that we really hate doing. So I think that underlying what our sages are telling us here when we talk about laziness is to find a way to trick your laziness. Give you an example. My grandfather was extremely motivated, very motivated with regards to the study of Mussar. My grandfather loved the study of Mussar. And his rabbi would teach great discourses in Mussar, great lectures. And my grandfather was very, very, very excited about writing them down and clearly understanding every word that the rabbi said. But you know what else my grandfather was learning in yeshiva? He was learning Talmud. Talmud he also enjoyed, but a lot less. Do you know what he did? He said, I'm only going to write the thoughts of Mussar and the discourses I heard from my rabbi after I finish writing the Talmud class. It means use your motivation that you have to do the thing you want to do. I want to check the news. You know what? I'll do that after I do my exercise. Because the exercise, I don't want to do my exercise. You know what? I'm on a diet and I'm supposed to stay away from certain foods, but I'm going to give myself a little treat after I finish my healthy salad. The idea that we need to be understanding that we have these limitations. And in having these limitations, it doesn't make us a bad person. We all have limitations. We have to learn to manipulate so that we're able to accomplish the things that we don't want to accomplish. We got to trick ourselves into it so that we can do it. And we can. We can do it. I can tell you many, many, many stories of this. But you're all smart. You all know the stories. You know the examples. You have a project you need to get done, but we all have things that we love to do, and we have things that we dislike doing. You know what? Schedule them that you do the fun thing after you do the thing that's not so fun for you. How many people are always ready to watch another movie? Right? Always ready to watch another movie. Or always ready to watch another show. Or always ready to go on another vacation. But they're not ready to get things that they need done. Like contemplating a certain trait, a negative trait. It's not fun. It's not fun. But it'll help me become a better person. So maybe I'll treat myself to that ice cream. I'll treat myself to that vacation after I accomplish this great thing. Okay? It should be light with your ears to hear reproof, chastisement, and words of Torah, and heavy to hear profanity and idle talk. They covered be'oznecha lishma nivul peh udvarim b'telim. V'tehekal be'apcha lichos al rishoyim. It should be light with your wrath. Be light with your wrath, to be angry with the wicked. When you see evil, be angry. And heavy, be angry with the righteous. And B, it should be difficult for you, it should be heavy for you, lazy for you, with your mouth and tongue in quarrels, lies, levity, and slander. That don't rush, but rush in Torah, chastisement, and instructing others to do good. Now, chastisement, I don't want it to be misunderstood. There's a mitzvah in the Torah to reprimand your fellow. We discussed this many, many times. There's a mitzvah in the Torah to reprimand your fellow. You see someone doing wrong, you have an obligation in the Torah to inform them, to bring it to their attention. Now, what's the obligation? The obligation is if you know that they're going to accept. If you know that they're not going to accept, you're obligated not to say a word. Okay? You heard that before, right? We've said this before. How do I know if they're going to accept or not? Well, you got to get to know them better. You don't know. You have no business reprimanding your neighbor who you don't know anything about them. Like in Israel, if you want to know how to raise your child, just bring them to the park. The whole neighborhood is going to teach you how to raise your child. They'll tell you what you're doing right. You're feeding them this. What are you doing? Why are you letting them? Everyone, it's almost like it takes a village, right, to raise a child. In Israel, it's like everyone is very ready. You know, I was once trying to explain, we talked about this as well previously, why Israelis are always on edge. You know why Israelis are always on edge? Well, yeah, imagine. How many rockets do you have facing your home here in Meyerland? None. Oh, they have thousands and thousands of ballistic missiles, rockets, you name it, aiming at their doorstep. You'd also go a little nuts, okay? So they're a little bit less patient, a little bit impatient. They're a little bit less, complimentary. That's fine. But a person has to be willing to accept instruction from other and be willing to give it properly. And it should be difficult for you, heavy for you, to raise your hand on another person. Or in closing your hand to the poor, meaning not to give to the poor. That should be difficult for you, very difficult for you. It should be very easy for you to give charity, and to do your business with honesty. And it should be difficult for you to waste time with going to where evildoers go, or to going to the bars and to go to the party halls, or going on trips to the tavern, excursions. That should be a little bit more difficult. But it should be easy for you. But to go to synagogue, to go to study hall, come to torch, of course, to go and to visit the sick, and to escort the dead, and to go to the house of mourners, and to do any mitzvah. That should be easy on you to do. And it should be difficult for you. Meaning it should be heavy. You should be lazy about this, about thinking negative thoughts, bad thoughts, hirhurim roim, evil thoughts, lekina, envy, lesina, hatred. These are things that should be difficult for you. And it should be difficult for you it should be easy for you, lachshov hirhura Torah, but to think words of Torah and to contemplate godly ideas, that should be easy for you. Again, because we all make things that are easy for us and difficult for us. Oh, it's so difficult for me to do this, so difficult for me to do that. But that I can do no problem. He's giving us here a whole list of things. These are the virtues, these are the qualities, these are things you should be light to accomplish. You should be ready, charged to go accomplish. These are things that you should make difficult for yourself. Yeah, hanging around the bad kids on the block, make it difficult. Lazy around. Don't do it. Lahasig malos avas Hashem yisborach v'yira hatahoro b'zeh kal v'zoros b'libcha lehidabik b'or elyon. He says, all of these things, be light to think thoughts of Torah and attain the levels of love of Hashem and pure fear of Hashem. Doing so will be light and quick in your heart to cleave to the heavenly light. So what we're trying to accomplish here, what we're trying to attain, is a level where we know what's right and what's wrong, where we're living with a clarity. I know this is the right thing to do. I know this is the wrong thing to do. This is something I should try to and aspire to get closer to. This is something I should distance myself from. And in doing so, God willing, Hashem will bless us all. Hashem will bless us to always see right from wrong, but also have the strength to run after the things that are right and the laziness to stay away from the things that are not. Yeah, you know what? I'll just stay in bed so I don't go to that party of where people are going to drag me away from what's important, from what's good, or people are going to say things that are inappropriate. People are going to do things that are inappropriate. That I don't want to see. That I'll be lazy about, and I'll make it difficult. I'll put barriers in front of me that I don't fall into that trap. So, my dear friends, this concludes the gate of laziness. And I just want to say that laziness is something that we do have the power to change. If a person notices that they have laziness, sometimes they get worried. It's better for me not to even look. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I'll be blind to it. No. Better to see it, to know it's there, even if it's going to be difficult to overcome it. Because once you know it's there, you'll now start thinking, you know why I don't want to go there? Not because I don't want to go and I have all these excuses. I don't want to go because I'm lazy. So now we have to evaluate. Is it a good thing for me to go or not a good thing for me to go? It's a good thing. I'm going to go. How many times does someone call and say, and it's inconvenient time. It's always inconvenient. People call and they say, can I borrow this? I need your help with that. Like now, really? Now? It's always at the inconvenient time. A person has to train themselves for good things, always say yes. And I can share with you one quick story. I've shared it in the past, so I may apologize if I'm repeating something that you've heard before. But I remember once it was at about 11 o'clock at night. I get a phone call from a friend of mine here in Houston. He tells me he is about to board a plane in St. Louis. He says the plane was delayed. He was supposed to arrive several hours earlier, and they put him on a different flight. It got delayed again. He says, we're about to board the plane now. Going to be landing in 2.5 hours in Houston at 1:30 in the morning. He said, so sorry, this was before Uber and all that. He's like, would you be able to come pick me up? I said, yeah, sure, no problem. I'll pick you up. I didn't even think about what time it was. I didn't even notice what time it was. At 1:30 in the morning, my wife says to me, are you out of your mind? You said yes to that? You go pick him up? I said, of course, someone needs help. I'm going to do it. And I felt like Hashem was testing me. Hashem was just testing my willingness. Are you going to do it or not? 10 minutes later, with no regret, by the way, no regret. 10 minutes later, he calls me back. He says, I just boarded the plane. I see there's another person in the community that's on my flight, and he has a car in the airport. He's going to give me a ride back. Never mind, but thank you so much. And I'm like, why did Hashem need to do that? It was a test. Hashem tests us all the time. Are you willing? Do you want to Whether or not you actually have to do it is secondary. But you want to, you pass the test. You pass the test. And I can say, sadly, that I haven't always passed the test. I try to, but I haven't always passed the test. But this is the Yetzer Hara will always test that laziness. If it's something exciting, I'm very excited to do it, but it's not so exciting. I don't know. We have all the excuses in the book. My dear friends, Hashem should bless us all to have the strength to do the things that He wants us to do, things that are good. The things that are not good, we could be lazy about that and say, no, I can't get out tonight. I'm a little bit tired. And you can give those excuses to things that you know are not good, things that you shouldn't be going to anyway. That's a good thing, a good usage of that laziness. So till next week, Mussar Masterclass on Monday night, my dear friends, I look forward to getting together again next week. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, we have the Parsha podcast. We have the prayer podcast at 10:30 a.m., same place, be there, be square. I can't wait to see everybody. And please, if you're watching this video, if you're listening to this podcast online, please like it, give a review so we can trick the algorithm that we're actually popular and maybe more people will see it and more people will learn Torah. My dear friends, have a terrific evening. Thank you so much.